Welcome to Lauren the Solution Live podcast, sponsored by Apex Podcasting Solutions. Guys, this is my baby. It has been formed and birthed for 2 years. So this podcast channel will be about encouraging aspiring entrepreneurs and current entrepreneurs. We're going to go over challenges that we may face that people don't have the answers to or experience from. So, which meaning this studio, I've had it for 2 years, and one of my challenges was, because I do so much, I had to change my focus from this to daycare, then Posh, then real estate. So it took me a while. Me and Jamie was in here the second day we got the keys, and I didn't let Jamie go home till 4 in the morning because we had to put curtains up, took everything up, and then the next morning I said, take it all down, I don't like it. So
no.
Everyone has the, depiction that success is overnight. It's not overnight. I wanted it to be overnight because I wanted to just get out there and get started so bad. But, realistically, that's not how it works. You're going to run into challenges. I've been blessed to be able to keep my space and just take my time with the build out on each room. So welcome to Apex Solutions. You are the first interview, and I am sitting here with the lovely Miss Rochelle.
Hi.
And Rochelle is, hence the pink flowers that we got for her here, is a breast cancer survivor, but also a $1 million Airbnb owner. So, y'all, we're going to get into all her ventures, and we're going to talk about it. So the first question that I want to ask you is, what was your first investment, and what did you experience as a lesson with your first investment?
Well, my first investment was a condo I purchased at 21 years old. And the reason that I purchased that condo was actually as a result of some discrimination that I faced in the process of trying to rent a home. Mm-hmm. That process was very hard and strenuous, being young as I was, trying to secure housing. Mm-hmm. And so luckily I was able to find a landlord that welcomed me to rent his property. Mm-hmm. However, it came with an incentive.
Uh-oh.
There's always an incentive, right, guys? So he had me pay 6 months rent up front. So how I was able to achieve doing that was I used my school refund check from being in college at the time. Mm-hmm. So a lot of us get those checks and we go splurge and we go shopping. I invested mine into my housing. So that's how I was able to get my first rental. And then at the time I had got pregnant and I wanted to renew my lease. But I was told that the rent was going to go up and I still had to pay 6 months up front. And I said, that no way, that's not fair.
Right.
So at that time, I decided to go back home with Mom. Brought home my newborn. And, of course, being as young as I was and not married, unfortunately, she wasn't having my kid's father coming over and staying. And that rubbed me the wrong way. So I said, we got to get out and do something.
Gotta get my own.
Yep. So at that time, the market was at an all-time low. Condos were going as low as $10,000 at that time. I did lose a couple bids in the process of trying to search for a home. And so when I came across this particular condo, I said, I'm tired of looking, I'm tired of waiting. We're going to overbid. So luckily, I was able to win the bid and purchase my first condo for $17,500. That's now worth $100,000 today in counting.
Y'all hear that? And the thing that I like about what you just said was that you were in school and you utilized your refund checks. So if you are an aspiring entrepreneur and you're in college and you don't know what to do with those checks, it's not for designer. Invest. So when you started your investment streak, how do you know what's a good investment, when to pull out, what to pass on? How do you know?
It's one of those things that you really have to pray on. You have to basically educate yourself on equity, the economy. Where is it trending? Does it seem like it's going up or down? Do you see potential in this property? Is it a highly sought out area? Right. So even if you say you find a property and it doesn't look the best, but you know that it has the potential, a lot of the times that's what I look for. I look for potential. And potential doesn't just mean cosmetically, it means financially as well. So again, that goes back to, is this a highly sought out area? I look at the comparables of sold homes in the area and see how they're selling, how high can they sell, what's the market time, how long do they sit on the market at the time of a sale. So all those things play a factor. You mentioned, when you pull out of a deal, or when to know when you pull out of a deal. So for me, it's more about what we call after repair value. So if I look at, a property, I consider the purchase price, I get a couple estimates from contractors on the cost of the development of the property to get it to a fairly reasonable look that someone may desire to live at.
Right.
Then I look at the comparables. Well, what's the property? What can this property actually sell for once it's renovated? So after that, obviously, you just can't look at, I bought it for $50,000. I put $50,000 in. I sell it for $200. I'm gonna make $100,000. There are fees, guys.
Yes.
You have to pay your realtor. You have to pay your attorney. You have to pay the lend. There's a lot of different caveats that go involved. So I look at the bottom line. So renovating a home, as you mentioned, it's taking you 2 years to renovate APEX. So this is a very stressful process. There's a lot of time that's involved. So you need to take that also into consideration. Time is money too.
Yep.
So if I'm going to walk away with $20,000, $30,000 after I had to put 6 months to a year of my time into it, paying all these fees, to me that $20,000, $30,000 isn't worth my time.
Right,
And
it's a
the
loss.
amount of stress
Exactly.
that goes into it. So for me, and this is just me personally, it may differ from person to person, but for me, I have to see $100,000 profit minimum.
Absolutely. To
For-
make it make sense.
To make it make sense for
Gotta
me.
make it
And
make sense.
that's just where I've come. But now starting out, that wasn't the case.
Right.
If I don't have $20,000, $30,000,
Like,
and
I'll
I've
take
never
it.
seen it,
Yeah,
that
like,
sounds like that seems like a lot of money.
Yes.
So you got to start somewhere. So
Yes.
that's not to discourage anyone to say that, if you're not making $100,000
Right.
profit, it's not worth it. That's just my personal preference.
Right.
However, starting out, that would have been a great profit for me, to get my feet wet. So I
Right.
always encourage, if it's worth your time and you can put the time in and you're making some type of money, sometimes that may just be what all you need just to kind of
Right.
get yourself familiar and acclimated to the process.
Right,
So
at that
that's
moment.
just as valuable.
Absolutely. So one thing you did just mention was equity. So for the viewers watching, you may not know what equity is. Equity is basically what a property would be valued at to start. And then over the years, the goal is always that equity does increase and you're able to sell your home for way much more, as you stated, that it was worth. So if there's any advice that you can give women specifically on how to get started in investment, and if they're scared or to even do it at all, what would you tell someone?
I would tell them, don't be scared. Challenge yourself. To me, I'm in competition with myself, and
That's
that's
right.
how I feel like I've gotten to the place I'm at. Each year, I pride myself on doing better the following year. Every year, I had to, at minimum, increase my salary by $10,000. Challenge yourself. You can't get to the next level without the risk.
That's right.
So don't be scared. That's just something you just have to do. And like I was saying earlier, in a private conversation that we had, my biggest motto is, when I take risks, I pray on it, obviously. Prayer is real big for me, but if you hit rock bottom, you can only go up from
That's
there.
right.
So, to me, it's like, what's worse than hitting rock bottom? You
Right.
can only go up, so you're always going to do better, and
That's
you'll
right.
learn from that. And in my experience, any failure or downfalls or shortcomings I may have had that I learned from, they've only helped me capitalize moving forward. So a lose isn't always a lose, if that makes sense.
It's more of a lesson, depending on what you're doing. So when you made your $1 million doing Airbnb, right? Because she has $1 million home, y'all, because Airbnb is so successful. So you're investing the smart way for sure. But along your journey, you have experienced becoming a breast cancer survivor. So how did that change your approach to money, risk, or business? Because like we just said, if you hit rock bottom, of course, you can always get up. But when you go through something like having cancer, not knowing whether you're going to beat it or not, and I want you to tell the funny story when you were in denial about it. It's like, so do you keep making, rolling the dice, or what do you do?
Well, yeah, that was a couple part question, so I'm gonna try to start with the beginning phase. So, breast cancer definitely did change my ideology on life itself. Having a child at the time that I was diagnosed, it really was very scary, to your point. And I think when I beat it and I was told that, I'm going to live, it was like, okay, I have no more time to waste. Being
Right.
23 years old and being told you got breast cancer. At first, I'm like, what the hell is cancer? I mean,
Right.
I said, funny story is, the only thing I knew about cancer was Cancer Treatment of America from that commercial that came on. Like, I'm asking the doctor, like, okay, so what part going to kill me? Because I feel fine. Like, am
Right.
I just going to wake up and can't breathe? Like, what is cancer? They're like, well, it starts to attack your cells and whatnot, whatever. So, okay, I had to get myself acclimated to that. But more so, you know, at 23 years old, you think about your hair, you think about your nails, you think about clothes, you're thinking about,
The
you know,
appearance,
going
yeah.
out, you think about friends and boys. So at that time, it was just like I was on the outside. It was like I was in the twilight zone. So it was just like I'm on the outside looking in, like these girls don't even realize, like, the stuff they stressing about is so
Yeah.
minute. You worried about how your hair look. You worried about your bundles. You worried about your nails. Like, girl, I'm worried about my life.
Okay.
I'm worried about my child. Who gonna do her
Yes.
hair if I leave? Like, it's so many things that's going through my mind. So at the time that I was diagnosed, and I beat it, I just really felt like life was a rush.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I got to be successful. I got to leave my baby something, because at that time, had I did pass, I wouldn't have been able to rest, because
Right.
I wasn't prepared to be gone that young. So it was like, I need to get me some properties, because what they don't tell you, which is an interesting point, and I would like to share with young women, is once you get diagnosed with any type of terminal illness, life insurance kind of writes you off. Like, you
Yeah.
cannot get
You're
any
a
more life
liability, high
insurance.
risk,
Exactly.
yeah.
So here it is, come Halloween, I'm 8 years in remission. I still can't get life insurance. So that really made me embark more on my real estate journey, because I was trying to think of ways that I could leave some financial legacy behind for my
Right.
children. And so the best way I knew how that worked for me was real estate. It was like, okay, if I could acquire so many properties in 30 years, they're all paid off and they have all this equity established, you know, my kids have something that they can rely on, that they can live off of and build from. So, yeah, breast cancer definitely gave me a different outlook on everything.
Yes, but you came out on top, and I thank you for sharing your story, because it's young women, they do go through this and they kind of don't know how to channel it, because it's not an easy process, and no terminal illness is easy, especially when you're driven like you are with your goals. So when you did discover you had cancer, how were you able to pinpoint something was wrong, like something ain't right? What was that moment for you?
Well, I was an A cup. So that was for starters. I was like, my breast got something going on, because I got a little mosquito bites and I feel a little lump here. So I'm telling my OBGYN, like, I feel something in here, and you know, it don't feel right. So of course, at 23 years old, they're equally in denial as I was. They're like, oh, just take some ibuprofen. You know, it's probably nothing, your menstrual cycle coming. So, okay, I said, okay, I'll go home. About 5 days later, I felt it grow. It got bigger. And I'm like, no, it's not no ibuprofen needed here. There's something more serious. So I called them back. I came in, and they were like, you know, we're going to go ahead and schedule you an ultrasound. But to be honest with you, the reason we are giving you pushback is because the insurance companies doesn't like to pay for women under the age of 40 to get tested. So I went ahead, I got the ultrasound for the breasts, and then they came back. A doctor came to me. She said, we did find an abnormality, but we're like 98% sure it's benign. But by chance, do you have a history of breast cancer in your family? I said, actually, I do. My grandmother died from breast cancer at 30, and her twin sister died at 31. So they died a year apart, both from breast cancer. I said, and then I believe that on my father's side, my great grandmother suffered from breast cancer. Although I don't think she died from it, she had it. So I said, it's on my maternal and paternal side. She said, well, in that case, we're going to go ahead and schedule you a biopsy to be on the safe side and test the cells. So I said, okay, fine. So at that moment, when I got the biopsy, this is my first biopsy too, by the way, they said, I could tell from the looks on everyone's faces, like they look saddened. And I'm just like, oh shit, I got cancer. So, and then when they got done, they give me all these pamphlets and books about cancer. I was just like, okay. I don't know if this is just standard practice or
like,
if
what is all this?
Yeah. So a couple days later, I get a call at work. They say, "Hey, Rochelle, we need you to come into the hospital as soon as possible." I said, "Okay, but I'm at work, so could you tell me?" They said, "Well, we'd rather you come in person." I said, "Well, if I'm going to leave work, I need to tell my manager
because my money is
what's the
important.
urgency here." They said, "Well,
Right.
we're sorry to tell you, sweetheart, but you have breast cancer and your cells are already splitting at 99%, so we need you to get here immediately." So, of course, I'm at that point, I'm in denial. I'm like, what the hell is cancer? Okay, you know, it's whatever. I call my mom. I say, yeah, Mom, I got breast cancer. She's, okay, Rochelle, I'll meet you at the hospital. She got, like, all antsy about it. I get there. I'm like, my whole immediate family's there. I'm there, and I'm smiling. I'm chipper because again,
That's just who you are.
Yeah, it doesn't really, it's not registering what I'm being told because I'm 23 and you're telling me I got breast cancer. I'm thinking, okay, they're going to give me some antibiotics or some medicine or whatever the hell.
Easy fit.
Doctor comes in the room, my family's there, I'm smiling, and he's like, hey, he said, you're smiling. I said, yeah. Why shouldn't I be? He's like, because you have cancer. I said, am I going to die? He said, no, you're not going to die. I said, well, I got everything to smile about.
That's right. God is good.
And I smiled the rest of that journey. I shared my story, and I beat it.
That's right. So the part about your story when I first heard it was the doctor bring you into the room, and he's like, I'm going to look like them.
Oh, right. So I never cried, right? And the moment I cried for the first time, I went and they're going over, you know, the procedures and what to expect. And she said, so you're going to lose your hair. And, and I, mind you, I just got my hair to lift. I wanted it. Like, so I said, wait a minute. I said, pause. I said, I'm going to like them cancer patients. That lady must have put her hand on my knee and she said, sweetheart.
She hit you with the baby.
She said, I'm sorry to tell you, but you are a cancer patient. And at that time, the tears just started rolling and rolling. I'm like, I'm going to be bald. Oh, my God.
But you were still able to smile and laugh through the whole process.
Oh, yes, definitely.
What kept you grounded during the treatment process?
I would probably say my family, my daughter. I had no doubt in my mind that I wasn't going to be here for my baby. I said, it would be nice that I really felt like if I close my eyes, I'm not gonna wake up. My heart gonna stop, and I just stay up. I said I ain't going to sleep because I'm not leaving her. So I stuck it out. But that was one of my biggest motivations was my daughter, London.
Oh, shout out to London. Okay, so were there ever any moments where you just was like, you know what, I give up. God, take me now.
There were never moments that I would say I was ready to give up, but there were down moments where I felt like I was in it by myself. I felt like, you know, why me? Why do I have to go through this? Not that I wanted it to be anyone else. It was just like me of all people. I'm 23 years old. My baby 3 years old. Like I got a whole lot of life to still give. So it was just those days. And then also, you know, seeing my beauty dwindle down, not being called out with friends no more. It was just like, it was all like kind of hitting me at once. People I thought that would be there that weren't there. People I didn't expect to be there were there. So it was like all those things that I had to like, you know, kind of, it was hard to process it all. So I would say it was more so days of being down, but not necessarily ready to give up.
So now on those down days, what would you do? Would you pray? Like, how was your mindset? Would you call your favorite auntie, your grandma? Like, who was that go-to person for you on your, like, worst days? Like, how was your faith? Like,
I say I always stay faithful. I really just stayed faithful. I prayed. But I think more so it was London. Like, when I fell down, my baby come over there like, you can do it. You can do it. Drink it, mommy. Like, I'm drinking these nasty little smoothie things I had to drink. And also my sister was like, she was more tough love. Yeah. But it was like funny because I remember I'm on Google. And the Google, stay away from Google. If you get breast cancer, if you get any type of
Google is not your doctor.
They will tell you you're going to die in 24 hours.
Or ChatGPT.
Yeah, stay off of those platforms. Write you off. Exactly. So my sister cleaning up, and I'm just Googling, and that's, you know, I just started crying. And she talking to me the whole time, but I'm not paying her no attention. I'm reading up on this stuff and seeing how much longer I got to live. And she turned around, she's like, girl, you crying? I said, yeah. I said, I'm going to die 6 months. She was like, girl, get off that daggone phone. She was like, you ain't going to die. I was just like, you're right. So it was like those type of things that kept me uplifted. Like, she was so confident. Like, girl, ain't nothing happening to you. I already prayed on it. It's said and it's done. Girl, keep on doing your chemo. We going to keep going. And yeah,
Push through it, pray through it, push through it. Well, Rochelle, I really want to thank you for being committed and keeping your word and coming to sit down and talk to me for my first episode of Lauren the Solution Live, the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. And I hope you enjoy your flowers. And congratulations on all your success and being $1 million earner in Airbnb. You are awesome. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations on everything. Now you're doing general contracting work.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm loving it. Yes. General contractor, realtor, mom, wife. I'm just wearing many hats. Exactly.
We do. And it gets hard, but I just thank you for sitting down with us so that we can inspire someone else who is out there just like us, a young mom, a serial entrepreneur, and just to let you know that we have struggles too. You can still get it done. It's just how you overcome those struggles, because life is gonna life.
Exactly.
Stuff's gonna happen, and it's about what you're gonna do to recover. So, y'all, this was episode 1 of Lauren the Solution Live, the podcast. And thank you guys for tuning in. We out. Make sure you comment, subscribe, and like to Lauren the Solution, the podcast. Are you ready to start your podcasting future? Do it with Apex Podcasting Solution. Your vision, our experience. We can't wait to have you in the studio.